Chris Graham here for Trailblazer RV. We're going to take you through a new RV orientation on this 2020 SportTrek Touring Edition 343 VIK. Starting right here at the front of the trailer, where you've got your propane and battery. To access the propane valves, you can lift up the access panel here on the cover. Remove the whole cover to access the bottles themselves. Here you've got dual 30-pound propane tanks. Both of these are full right now, and an automatic switchover propane regulator. So right now you can see the sight glass on the front of the regulator showing red. That means that there's no propane flowing from the supply bottle. If I open this valve, the sight glass turns from red to clear, showing that there's propane in the line. What we recommend is opening both valves, and then the regulator will deplete the supply bottle first and then automatically switch and start to pull propane from the reserve bottle. When that happens, this sight glass will turn back to red, and you can switch the supply over to the second bottle to remove the first bottle to go and refill it without ever shutting down your propane system. Behind the propane bottles is your battery. This one has an upgraded RV31 battery. So it's a 12 volt deep cycle battery with two leads going to it, black to negative, red to positive. And it's a flooded wet cell battery, so it does require some maintenance. You'll have to remove this sticker to expose the 6 cells underneath here. You'll want to check the level of water in those cells 2 or 3 times a year and top up any cells that seem a little bit low. Once you've topped it up with distilled water, put a good charge on the battery and it should be good. We also recommend removing the battery for winter storage. So store it indoors, somewhere where it's not going to freeze, and if possible, put a charge on the battery once or twice over the off season. This model also has a battery disconnect switch right behind the battery. So red is disconnected, green is connected. And anytime you're putting the RV into storage for any length of time and don't want to pull the battery off, you can use the disconnect to isolate the battery. Around the side, you've got your pass-through front storage compartment. This RV has 50 amp power service, so we supply the 50 amp power cord as well as both the 50 amp to 30 amp dog bone adapter and the 30 amp to 15 amp park adapter. And those are inside the pass-through storage compartment. We'll find them just over on the other side. This trailer also has the side view cameras installed. This is an upgrade to your Furrion rear view camera. So this one has the rear view camera and the side view cameras. These cameras should automatically activate with your signal lights. When you activate your signal light, the view from your monitor will switch from the rear view to the side view. A little bit of extra storage here beneath the master bed. And here we've got a couple of propane appliances, your hot water tank and your furnace. With the furnace, this is just the exhaust vent. The only thing to know about this is it does get very hot. So if you've got kids around the trailer, make sure they know not to touch that. With your hot water tank, you can remove the cover to access the back of the tank. This is a gas electric hot water tank, so it can run on electricity. In order to run it on electricity, you'll have to turn this black rocker switch to the on position. We always leave it in the off position. And you've got 2 black reset buttons here. If the tank ever overheated, it might trip these ECOs. You'd have to come out here and reset these 2 buttons. The one on the left is for electricity, the one on the right is for propane. This is also where you'll drain the water from your hot water tank in the wintertime by pulling this plug out of the bottom of the tank. It's a 1 1/16 inch socket to remove the plug. And on the end of the plug, you'll find a rod about that long. It's your sacrificial anode rod. The purpose of the anode rod is to corrode over time to prevent the inside lining of the tank from corroding. Before you pull this out, make sure to bleed the pressure off of the tank using the pressure relief valve. Oh, there we go. Right below the hot water tank is the sewer tank flush system. So when you're dumping your holding tanks, you can hook a hose up to here to flush out the black water holding tank. So that it'll spray off the walls of the tank and help keep the monitor probes clean, making sure that monitor panel reads correctly. You'll dump your holding tanks from right beneath here. We supply a 20-foot medium heavy-duty sewer hose. It's stored in the rear bumper right now. Sewer hose attaches onto here. Other end goes into the ground. And then you've got two valves here on your frame. A black valve. This is your sewer tank. You should always dump this one first. And a gray valve. This is your gray water, your sink and shower water. Once the sewer is finished dumping, you can close this valve and open this valve, and your gray water will kind of flush the contents through the sewer hose. Making it a little easier and cleaner to remove that hose and put it away for storage. You've got an outside shower with hot and cold water access, and this is where you'll hook up your city water connection. If you're staying at a park that has water connections, you can hook your drinking water hose right up to here, and it'll pressurize the lines for you. If you're going to hook up to city water, we recommend using a water pressure regulator to maintain a consistent water pressure in the RV and not overpressurize the lines. This is where that 50 amp power cord hooks up. We found that in the front storage compartment. And right here at your running gear, your tires are inflated to 80 psi, and we do recommend running them right at 80 psi. Also, your lug nuts are torqued to 100 foot-pounds, and we recommend periodic retorquing of your lug nuts. We also recommend that you periodically repack wheel bearings. This one has easy lube axles, so if you pop the center cap off of here, you'll expose a grease zerk, and you can grease your inner and outer wheel bearings with a grease gun. That doesn't eliminate the need to repack wheel bearings, but it does prolong the intervals. So instead of repacking wheel bearings every year, maybe you can repack your wheel bearings every 3 or 4 years. Right above that is another vent. This is your fridge vent. The panel can be removed for access to the back of the fridge, but it's mostly just a vent. It needs some airflow to operate properly. And right here at the back of the trailer is where you'll fill your freshwater reservoir. If you're connecting to city water, use the connection at the front. If you're just filling your tank, you can do that here. And for anything relating to your fresh water, we recommend you use one of those white drinking water specific garden hoses. That way you won't get the plasticky garden hose taste in your water. Your cargo tray folds down from the back. This is rated for 200 pounds. Just pull the 2 pins and fold that down. To bring the ladder down, obviously once the cargo tray is folded down, it locks in the up position. Just pop it up to release the lock and fold down. When you put it back up, push down to lock it in the up position. This model has 4-corner power stabilizer jacks. Each power stabilizer jack on the SportTrek Touring Edition has its own motor and switch. So to extend the jack, press and hold until it goes all the way down. The point of the jacks is not to lift the trailer, it's just to stabilize it. And the jacks will in fact cut out once they've taken up as much weight as they're supposed to. If the jack cuts out, just give it about 5 seconds for it to reset, and you'll be able to use it again. Here at your outside kitchen, your fridge works on 110 volt power. You'll need to be plugged into electricity for the fridge to work. It's not like the fridge inside that works on propane or electricity. And your stovetop is a 2-burner propane stovetop, and this does need to be hooked up every time you use it. It's not permanently attached to the propane system. So right here you'll find a quick connect propane line, and that connects right here underneath the trailer to the other quick connect. When you connect the hose, the valve will have to be turned off to connect the hose, and then turn the valve on to make sure that propane is flowing. There's a valve there on the quick connect, as well as on the hose itself. And I believe the hose is up in the front storage compartment as well. So just to clarify, both of those valves need to be open for propane to flow. The operation of your entry step, just release the catch here and the step folds down. The legs are height adjustable. So if you're at a site that's very unlevel ground, you can adjust the height of each of the legs. And of course you've got your Venture RV dog tie down, which can also conveniently be used as a bottle opener. Right inside the trailer, you'll find several controls, one of which is your awning controls. So you've actually got 2 awnings on this trailer. Your main awning, you just press and hold the out button. That'll extend the awning. This awning extends 8 feet and is height adjustable. And then your second awning is a Carefree one-touch awning. So if we turn it on and press the extend button, we don't actually need to hold the button for that one. This one will extend a full 8 feet as well, but it will control itself. The armless awning also has a wind sensor. Your main awning does not. So make sure if the wind picks up, at very least you should be bringing in your main awning, but probably a good idea to bring in both awnings. Both awnings also have an LED light strip in them to uplight your campsite. Come on inside the trailer here, and I'll show you a few more things. To close that one-touch awning, you can just press the retract button once and it'll close. To close the other awning, you'll have to hold in the switch the whole time. A couple of light switches here. These are for your exterior lights, your yard light and your step light. Main interior coach lighting here, and these are for your 2 LED awning lights. To operate your slide outs, just press and hold the out button, and the slides will extend. This is a flush floor slide, so as it reaches its full extension, it'll sink down to make a flush transition with the floor. And when you hear the ratcheting sound, you know your slide is fully extended. Just like so. Same with the second slide. This one extends 18 inches, as does your third slide in the bedroom. And with the bedroom slide, it's a little difficult to see it because it's behind the door. So you'll always want to, especially when you're bringing that slide in, you'll just want to visually confirm that there's nothing in the way before you bring it in. And there we go. So here in the kitchen, you'll find your 3-burner gas stovetop. To light these burners, turn them on to the pilot setting, and all 3 will light from the piezo spark. And what just happened there, we'd had the propane tanks turned off, and we just opened the propane bottles as we were walking around the RV. Always recommend anytime you put a new propane bottle on the RV that you do exactly that. Come to the oven or the stove top, open up those burners, and light all 3 of the burners. Once you've lit the 3 burners, you know you've bled the air off of the propane system, and you'll have no problem lighting your automatic appliances, your fridge, your furnace, and your hot water tank. Your oven has a pilot light, but it is lit by the piezo sparker as well. And you'll see that right underneath here, your oven pilot. As we turn the piezo sparker, we'll need to bleed a little bit more air off of the gas valve. This one can take a little while because it's a very small amount of propane flowing. There we go. So once you can see a pilot light there, continue to hold the knob in for 10 or 15 seconds, just for the flame sensor to warm up. Once you release that knob and the pilot stays on, you can turn the oven up to temperature, and the rest of the burner will light. When you've finished using the oven, you can turn it down to pilot and just leave the pilot burning, or you can turn it all the way off and relight the oven next time you need to use it. Little switch on the wall there for your LED backlit backsplash, and a switch on the oven for the backlit stove knobs. Your fridge is an automatic gas electric fridge. So to turn it on, press the on button and toggle the mode to automatic. When it's in A for automatic, it'll always check for electricity first. If it has electricity, it'll run on that. If it doesn't have electricity, it'll automatically light the propane. You can override the automatic to only run on electricity or only run on propane, and you might find that the fridge cools a little faster on propane than it does on electricity. Having said that, it takes several hours to cool down an RV fridge, so you'll want to get that fridge cooling preferably the day before you pack up for a holiday. This one has some temperature adjustment, 1 being the warmest, 5 being the coldest. I usually set it on 4, but you might find you need to adjust that depending on ambient conditions. For now, I'll set this back in automatic, and to shut off the fridge, press and hold the on button. At your entertainment center, both your TV and your fireplace require 110 volt power, and we're not plugged in right now, so I won't be able to actually start those up. The 4 things that require 110 volt power: TV, fireplace, air conditioner, power outlets, and microwave. Make that 5 things. Here, right above my head on the roof, is your smoke detector. The smoke detector is not wired into the RV's 12 volt electrical system. It has its own 9 volt battery. So you'll want to test this smoke detector a couple of times a year to make sure that that battery hasn't gone dead. And you can test it just by pressing the test button and make sure you hear a beep. I'm sure you already know about your safe tech box, but this the end of this cabinet is a hidden storage area. You've got 110 volt and 12 volt USB chargers in there. Right here on the wall is your thermostat. This is where you'll control your heating and cooling systems from. For the air conditioning, turn the system over to cool, and you can toggle between the fan always on or automatic per the thermostat, and there's high and low fan speeds. The heat has only one fan speed, so when the system is in heat mode, just turn the thermostat up to the temperature that you're comfortable at. The furnace kicks on immediately, or the fan does, but it's going to take 15 or 20 seconds before we actually hear the burner light up and before we get any warm air through the lines. I don't know if you could hear that in the video, but that click was the DSI direct spark ignition lighting up the burner. If we waited a few seconds now, we would have warm air blowing from our vents. Once the system comes up to temperature, the burner goes out immediately, and the fan is still going to run for another 30 seconds to a minute before it shuts down. I'll just shut this off for now. Right below these controls is your power converter. This is the power center for the trailer. So all of your 110 volt circuits are protected by breakers, all of your 12 volt circuits protected by fuses. And you'll see you've got all 15 amp fuses in this model. So it's not a bad idea to have some spare 15 amp fuses. It's not uncommon in an RV to blow a fuse. So if you have some spares, it won't be a big deal if you have to replace one at the campground. Another thing in the hallway here is your propane slash CO2 detector, or sorry, CO detector, propane carbon monoxide. So this will actually do three things. It'll alert you to a potential propane leak, which if you had a propane leak, you would almost certainly smell the propane before the detector went off. It could alert you to a carbon monoxide situation, in which case you wouldn't smell anything. Or the third and most common thing that it could do is alert you to a low voltage situation. This is wired into the RV's 12 volt electrical system, so if the RV battery gets a little bit low, this will chirp just like a smoke detector does when its battery is low. So if this starts going off in the middle of the night, it may be something as simple as a low battery. Here in the bathroom, two switches on the wall, one for the, over here, camera person, one for the overhead lighting and one for the fan. You've also got right above that the control for your LevelMate Pro system. We recommend that you go on the App Store or Google Play Store and download the Venture RV app. Then you'll use this button to sync the app to your trailer. Before you can level the trailer, it's going to ask you for some measurements. It'll need a measurement from the center of the axles to the center of the hitch post and the width of the axles as well. Once you've given it that information, you can use your phone to determine exactly when the trailer is level or how many degrees out of level it is. Here in the bathroom, a couple of things to point out. One is a notable power outlet. This is your GFI outlet. Has a test and reset button on it, just like the outlets in the bathroom of your home. The only difference in an RV is this is wired in series with the rest of your power outlets. So if you're plugged into power and you have no power from your outlets, come into here, press the reset button, and it'll reset that whole GFI circuit. Here is your monitor panel. So you can check the level of your battery. You can see that it is good right now. If it was currently charging, it would show C for charging. Your fresh tank is completely empty. Black tank completely empty. And gray tank has a little bit of water left in it just from our testing, showing 1/3. This is also where you'll activate your water pump. So you turn that switch on and you can hear the water pump come on and pressurize the system. Just like so. Then you have water from your taps. You can leave that water pump on the entire time you're camping, or you can just turn it off. You can turn it off and just turn it on whenever you need to use some water. And then you've got two water heater switches here. One for electricity. Remember, if you're going to use your hot water heater on electricity, then you'll also need to have the black rocker switch on the outside of the tank turned on. And the second water heater switch is for propane. Turn that on and the fault light comes on, showing that the burner is not burning. But if we give that just a second, just like the furnace, we should hear the DSI kick in and that burner light up. Just like so. If that fault light didn't go out, or if it only went out briefly and came back on, that's when you might want to go outside and check those two black reset buttons on the outside of the tank. Anytime you're using your RV's sewer system, you'll want to make sure you use a good potent RV toilet chemical. It's available in powder, liquid, or tablet form. When you go to add chemical to the tank, pour a package of chemical into the toilet bowl, push halfway down on the foot pedal to fill the bowl with water, and then dump the whole works down into the tank. It's important to note that toilet chemical takes a little bit of water to activate it, so make sure every time you add new chemical to the black tank that you put some water down with it. And you'll want to add new chemical immediately after every time you dump your holding tanks. So when you finish dumping your black holding tank, come in here, add a new charge of chemical, and you should be good until the next time you need to dump your tanks. Here in the master bedroom, a couple of things worth pointing out. One is your power vent fan. So this one is power lid. So that lid will open it and close on its own. It also has a rain sensor, so if it senses moisture, it will automatically close the vent. You can open and close it manually from the keypad here. You can turn the rain sensor on and off, and you can set the temperature, the automatic temperature. It's a single temperature, 78 degrees Fahrenheit, but you can set the fan to come on and off automatically. When you shut it off, the vent lid should automatically close as well. You have another fireplace here in the master bedroom. Again, needs to be plugged into 110 volt power for that to operate. And what else? I think that pretty much covers it for the bedroom. The big closet here. You do have washer dryer hookups in here. If you're going to install a washer dryer, that's where it would have to be. And I think that pretty much covers it. If you, hopefully you've learned something about the 2020 SportTrek Touring Edition 343 VIK. You can always get a hold of us at Trailblazer RV if you have any questions, or you can check our website, trailblazerrv.com. Thanks for watching.